Good morning, everybody, and welcome to our Summer Food Service Program training. We are going to get started. As soon as I find my mouse, there it is. So on the agenda today, we're going to pretty much go over all the requirements that are needed to run the program. Excuse me. Kelly Rambo is our Bureau of Student Wellness and Nutrition Administrator for all our child nutrition programs and for the wellness programs. Currently, we do not have an administrator. We will be hopefully in a couple of months being able to put that out. You'll notice that the training is a little bit different this year, hopefully a little bit better. We're going to cover all the necessary topics just in a different order. And we'll be removing some of the items that were available during COVID and adding some of the items that have become available due to the new integrity rule. So before we get started, I'm going to have Katie Daly come in. She is with our commodities and give a little presentation on that. So I'm going to let her share. I'm going to come off the screen.
Hi, Patty. I'm trying to start. Oh,
Yeah, you should be able to now.
here I am. Okay. All right. So I can't seem to get my picture up here, but I can at least introduce myself. So hello, everybody. I am Katie Daly, and as Patty said, I am in charge of the food commodities for Summer Food Service Program. We are the ones that say, hey, here we are, we're here to deliver your government food. So that's how you would know us. We just deliver the food right to you. For those of you who have not received foods from us, we are in a separate building from Patty and Kelly and everybody that you deal with on a typical basis. So they are nice enough to try to send us your information if you've applied to be part of the Summer Food Service Program. And that allows us to get you going on our end. I'm just going to go ahead and share my screen, if that's okay. And Patty, can you allow me to share my screen, please?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me find that.
Okay. I have plenty to chat about, so that's fine. To let everybody know, I absolutely love the Summer Food Service Program. One of the reasons why is that from the commodity side, we have less regulations that we have to follow than we do with the National School Lunch Program or CACFP. That part to me is great because it gives us some flexibility in terms of what we can offer you.
Katie, go ahead and try to share now.
Oh, yes, you've done it. You've done a great job. Let's see. Okay, so everyone can see?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. So let's just move right along. So we work in conjunction. Oh boy, it says DOE, but if I remember correctly, you've changed your name over there, Patty, is that right?
Yes, we're the education department.
All right, everyone, from here on out, when you see DOE, what I mean is the education department.
That's so okay, because we still have trouble with it too.
Okay, good. All right. We love to do this. We love to get the list from Patty. It comes over, and we have a very small team over here. Usually you'll be speaking with myself or with Valerie Sargent, who is phenomenal. She takes care of business nice and quickly. She's usually the one that will be sending out our applications, and often the one that sends out our menu, if you will, of offerings. So it's really just the two of us that will be working with you, and we work in conjunction with Patty and everybody over at the education department to make sure that you get a direct delivery of federal foods. So the first piece is that you have to be approved by Patty, and then you're okay to receive our deliveries. So once you fill out our agreement, then you're ready to receive these deliveries direct to your kitchen. And that way you can save on costs. Every single case that we have right now is $3.75. And so you get the opportunity to receive these packages. We allocate how much you may be able to receive based on your eligible reimbursable meals served in the prior summer or the prior year. However, I want to be clear about this. Just because you haven't necessarily received our foods in the past for SFSP, it does not mean that on your first year you will receive zero. That is not something that we adhere to. If you are a first-time participant, even though I say there are no guarantees, I've now been doing this for 5 years. I've never once had someone come on the program and receive nothing their first year. We always find a way. So we will continue doing that. The one piece is that you've got to have at least some decent storage capability in some manner for commercial sized packages, specifically for frozen items, because that's oftentimes, where you're going to get some of the products that are a great bang for your buck. Beef crumbles or beef patties. Sometimes we've got chicken or fish sticks, those sorts of things. I've seen people become very creative with how they go about making that happen. Sometimes people hire someone else to hold their food, and they contract. Sometimes they get large storage capacity, like a large freezer that comes in and is rented to them. However it is that you do that, we're fine as long as you have the space to accept the products that you order. We will do our best to deliver it. So one piece that is great is when we are ordering for the National School Lunch Program, this is when I plan for the summer food service program. So right now actually is the time frame that we've just ordered a whole bunch of food for the following year to come in. And we always order a little bit extra so that we'll have a diverse offering for the summer food service program. And our hope is that that helps for you guys to be able to provide balanced meals and meet the meal pattern requirements, because honestly, that's an area that I'm lucky to say that we don't really get into very much. It seems a little complex here and there. But what we do know is that if we can be helpful to you, we will be. So making sure that you have an offering of fruits and vegetables and meats and dairy, just trying to really make sure we're hitting all the food groups that you may need. And that's pretty awesome. That works well. Oftentimes it's canned goods, just so that you know that it might be mixed fruit, or sometimes we're getting in beans, black beans or vegetarian beans. You know, there's a lot that will be canned, and that seems to work well because it offers a long shelf life as well as kind of meeting the needs of what you've got going on. You don't have to put it in your frozen storage. We understand that everyone is short on freezer space or cooler space usually. So this is what we had offered last year. And as you can see, we really do try to hit all the different pieces here. And it doesn't matter whether or not you are ordering the top of the line, something that's, you know, a really pricey item versus something that's not. For us and our delivery fee, it's just $3.75 per case. That's across the board. And let's see, it doesn't mean that all of these products are going to be offered this year. We might have different products offered this year and still hit 25 products, or sometimes we might just have 20. One way or another, you can be sure that you're going to be able to receive a large quantity, more so than you probably anticipated you would get based on your meal counts. We really do appreciate the flexibility that this program gives us when it comes to our delivery options. So we'll continue doing that. One thing that has given people a little bit of a question is how it really does operate in terms of when they should order what. So for a few years now, we've done something where we've switched it up and made sure that you should be receiving 3 offers. If you come on the program early, then that's when we're going to move through that. Now, granted, I know it's kind of difficult because you've got to get your application process through education department, and then you've got to get another one through for us. But once that happens, we are set and ready to go. You'll be receiving your first order form usually in late May, early June. We'll handle that one order, and then you will receive another order form for your delivery in July and a third order form for your delivery in August. So don't try to just order up everything that you see in the first order form. We've definitely seen that people are sometimes doing that, and that makes sense, especially for those that have been in the program for a long time. But in order to really ease some of that first round bulk ordering, we have definitely split that up so that you don't have to worry so much. We will hold back some products so that it's still available as we move forward. So that's the major piece that I think we still get questions on. So I just want to be really clear about that. There's 3 separate ordering stages. So you should be receiving a delivery in June, July, and early August, if at all possible. I understand a lot of you wrap up in mid-August. So that's what we try to do to make things a little easier for you and be customer service friendly. Honestly, we just want everyone to have a happy summer. If you say, oh man, wow, I ordered this much 2 weeks ago, I truly can't take it, please just let us know and we'll see what we can do to help you. Usually we can find a way. Just, communicate with us and we'll be able to help you. If there's a question that you have on the products, we can send you some product sheets. We are here for you. And you'll be happy to know that when we deliver, we usually are able to help you and deliver directly into your kitchen. So that's also something we've received quite a few people saying, wow, that's great. Thank you so much. We plan to continue doing that. If there's anything else that you guys have questions on, please let us know either right now or you can certainly email us as well. I don't think that Valerie
Yeah.
can put our email in the chat, but I will do so in a minute or two. How about that?
And then also, if anybody does have any questions right now, go ahead and put them in, that we're gonna use the Q&A button that's on your screen. So
Okay.
if anybody does, go ahead and do that now. But for sure, of course, we do have one. So
Okay,
it's,
that's
do
a
you
great one.
have, I
Yeah.
know,
I see that.
okay,
Good advice on how to handle extra food still on hand at the end of the season. So this is an area where USDA has been clear that they love to keep food within the same program. That's always their first option. So we say, if there is a potential that you've got another, if it's another camp or another school that's running SFSP, then we try to connect you with one of those places. If you don't know or have a neighbor that you're like, oh, yep, that we know that they're still running, and they might have room for that. What we say is that you always need to document. That way it's a lot easier. Once you've got to get an audit or something of that nature, you need to make sure that you clearly identify that you moved this many cases of corn to this location over here. So that's the piece that is most important. If you can't locate that on your own, ask us, we'll try to assist. And if that doesn't work, at the end of the day, you are allowed to donate food if you cannot use it. So we're always going to say, please try to keep it within the USDA programs. And so that could easily be your food pantry as well. They might receive TFAP foods. And that just means that it's another location that we try to serve because it's a population that is underserved and they may need that food as well. Hopefully that answers your question there. But again, if that happens and you're at the end of the season and you're saying, oh my gosh, reach out to us. We'll help you find a home for that food. Okay, I see that there's more questions. Let's take a look. Can we place one order but have it broken up and delivered to multiple kitchens? Huh. That's an interesting question. So there's actually a couple of different answers that may be applicable there, Heather. So we're gonna try to reach out to you separately. We'll have to ask a couple of follow-up questions to make that work for you. So if you want to just type in your contact info, then we will reach out to you. Okay, can existing in-house commodities be used first to adhere to that? I believe actually you can use, especially if you're at a school, if you're running SFSP at a school. I do believe I've just recently seen something that made it very clear you can utilize the food that is still available at the end of the NSLP school year. You can transfer that over to SFSP. I will do my best to locate that where I saw that and maybe send it to Patty at some point. She might be able to share that for everybody. Let's see. Okay, so estimated time frame on when the ordering list will be sent out to the districts or to the participants. Usually we try to send that out late May or early June, so that everybody's got a little bit of time. All righty.
Yeah, just to follow up on that, Katie, is all the SFSP applications have to be in by May 15th.
Oh, great. Okay.
So that's one of the reasons we do it that early, so we can get Katie that list
Awesome.
of those who are wishing for commodities.
So then that actually helps a lot, Patty. Thank you. So that means that you will be receiving the first order list by the end of May. That's great. That's perfect. Thank you, Patty, for letting us know. All right. So I think I read them clearly,
Yeah.
but maybe I did not. Patty, did I miss anything or
No, I think you got them all, the ETA of, yeah.
okay.
So
Okay.
the only one is for Heather, and she put her email in there.
Yes, which is phenomenal. That's great.
And any other questions that come up during the, during the presentation, I can always forward them to you if I can't answer them.
Okay. Okay. Well, that sounds amazing. And again, we love the summer food service program. So we're always happy to help out. We get a little bit more time in the summer for our deliveries. So that kind of gives us a chance to be more invested in each and every single delivery that we make. So please feel free, always let us know what you've got going on, and we will be here to help. Thank you so much, Patty, for inviting us. As
Thank
always,
you.
appreciate
Yeah.
it. And we're
We-
here in case we can help.
Yeah, and thank you. We appreciate that you can take the time to do this part of the
Oh.
presentation. So
Of course, I will also send or submit our email into, I think, the chat. So
yeah, that
everyone,
would be good.
right?
Yeah, everybody will be able to see the chat.
Okay, great, great. I will do that, and then everyone can take a peek, but I hope you have a great rest of your day and training.
Thank you very much, Katie.
Thank you.
Okay, so now we're going to get back into what we're going to talk about. Pretty much I'm going to go over the seven CFRs 225s for summer food, the requirements for sponsor participation, the management responsibility of a sponsor, the mail service requirements, procurement standards, and then miscellaneous administrative provisions. So we have a lot to get through, so we're going to start now. And also I probably should have introduced myself a little bit better. I know I'm so used to having the same people on, but we do have some new people on. So I am Patty Kerrigan. I'm the lead specialist for the summer food program and the child and adult care food program. And I'm also the finance manager. I also have Maddie Anastasia, who's one of our food and nutrition coworkers, part of our team. She mainly does NSLP and fresh fruit and vegetables. She is helping me out today with the Q&As. So anytime you have a question, by all means, go ahead. She's going to monitor that for me, and we'll get started. So I'm going to start with a polling question to start with. And I just kind of want to get what type of sponsor you are. And let me launch it. You see it? Okay. So, well, most people are answering already. So are you a homeless shelter, non-residential camp, a residential camp, a school, upward bound, or unsure? Because you might be new. So we'll just give it a couple more minutes. All right. So it looks like 10% of you are non-residential camps. 38% of you are residential camps. 31% are schools or SAUs. 3% are upward bound. And those are colleges. And then 19% of you are unsure. And like I said, I know we do have some new people on here. So So thank you for that. And then let me just share so you guys can see it real quick. And we'll go from there. All right. All right. So no applicant sponsor shall be eligible to participate in the program unless they demonstrate financial and administrative capability for program operations and accept final financial and administrative responsibilities for total program operations at all sites at which it is purposed to conduct the food service. 2, it has not been seriously deficient in the operating of the program, meaning you are not on the national disqualification list. Will conduct a regularly scheduled food service for children from the areas in which poor economical conditions exist or qualifies as a camp. Has adequate supervisory and operational personnel for overall monitoring and management of each site, including adequate personnel to conduct the visits and the reviews required. So there's a CFR 22515 D that kind of tells you if you have like over 25 sites that you need a full-time monitor. So that gives you those requirements. Provides an ongoing year-round service to the community in which its purpose to serve under the program, except as provided in 2256B4. It certifies that all sites have been visited and they have capable and the facilities to provide the meal service plan for the number of children anticipated to be served. And then it enters into a written agreement with the state agency upon approval of its application as required. So that was a lot of words, but that's the general requirements. Wow, this is blank. This is not good. Oh, here they come. Okay, applicants eligible to sponsor the program include public or nonprofit private school food authorities, public or nonprofit residential summer camps, units of local, municipal, county, or state governments, public or private nonprofit colleges or university which are currently participate in the National Youth Sports Program, and private nonprofit organizations as defined in 225-2.2. So what is a complete online SFSP packet? There are several steps that need to be completed by the sponsor organization in order to have a complete SFSP application packet. Please make sure that all your documents are uploaded to the system. No applicant sponsor shall be eligible to participate in the program unless it demonstrates financial administration capability. Why is it? So I don't know why it's doing the same words. The application is the sponsor application. All sections need to be completed. The site application, all sections completed. Attached documents uploaded are all pertinent documents. And the budget completed, unless for public schools that are existing on the program do not need to, but if you're new to SFSP, you will. We'll need to estimate operating costs, which is the food service costs, estimate administrative cost, and projected income to support your program. Again, the application deadline is May 15th, 2021. Well, I should say 2023. However, that's an oops on me for not catching that one. So this is your online sponsor application page. Here you can see The information will be rolled over from the year to year, which has been already. So we're good there. It's up to the sponsoring organization to make the necessary changes, if applicable, to ensure that the information is true and correct for the current operating year. The start date on the sponsor application is to correspond with the earliest start date of the participating sites. And the end date on the sponsor application is to correspond with the latest end date of participating sites. So here, you can see this lovely pink arrow. This is a sponsor application for Manchester. It's going to ask you to fill in your, if you're doing a new site, it's going to ask you to fill all this in. Otherwise, it will be in there. But I want you to make sure it's correct. Maybe your phone number has changed or your email address has changed. Who's the designated official? Who am I going to call if there's a problem? And who's the program administrator? It probably could be the same person. And then there's questions, has the applicant participated in the summer food program previous years? And then what year? And then the state would be New Hampshire. So make sure you read all these questions as they may change. If they don't change, that's fine. And again, down here on the bottom is where the dates are. And that has to go with your sites. So, and I'll go over that in a little bit. All right. So I can't express, enough how these dates need to be correct. So as an example, on your sponsor page, if you look at all the starting dates for the 4 sites that I listed, the earliest start date is 6/21/23. This is the date that you would enter on the starting date on your sponsor application. The latest date for the ending date is 9/2/23. This is going to go on your end date of your sponsor application. Now your sites will have these. So there's 2 pages you really want to be aware of. Sponsor page, that's the information about all of you that are sponsoring these sites, and the site page. Some of you might only have one site page. Some of you may have multiple site pages. That's why these dates are very, very important. And, based on the earliest start date and the latest end date of these sites, the claim and request information on the sponsor application, it must read these dates down here. If it does not, it's going to affect your claims. So I think I put, I might have put 6/15 as a start date and then 9/1 as an end date. I want to see those dates change because I know that's not what you will be working on. So site application page 1. As with the sponsor application, some of the data that appears on the site application will roll over from year to year. It's up to the sponsor to ensure that the information listed on the site page and the site application is true and correct. Please make sure that you double check what is there. I know that it's easy to skim by each year, but this is how mistakes are made. I just want to go back to the sponsor page for 1 second. And pretty sure it's on the sponsor page. It'll ask you whether you want commodities or whether you want or whether you don't. So that is it's on the sponsor page. It's very important that the site data is accurate. This information is used by USDA in order for families to find your locations. As you will see in a later slide for the mapping, it is important to note the address cannot be a PO box because the graphic coding mapper. This information also could be used by USDA or the state agency to show up for unannounced visits, which has happened in the past. Make sure that if you are having a field trip or you are closed on a certain date, that it's listed on your applications. Claims could be denied if you had not. Especially if, like, all of a sudden I need to do an unannounced visit, at some place. I pick somebody and I get there and there are no children there. But it's on your application that you're open during these dates. Field trips aren't listed. So I have to assume that that day there should be no claims. And I will ask for that information. USDA, sometimes they're in the area and they may show up at a site. And they're taking that information from the USDA mapping information that I give them. So that's why it's so important to be able to make sure everything is correct. So if you're adding a new site, you will need to let me know so I can initially put it into the system. You have your enrollment type. It's either enrolled, open, restricted open. And the restricted open, the qualifications is how the site was qualified. An open site becomes a restricted open site when the sponsor chooses to restrict or limit the site's attendance for reasons of security, safety, or control. A site that would normally be approved as a traditional open site may not be approved as a restricted open site as a matter of preference or convenience. The sponsor must demonstrate to the satisfaction of the state agency that the legitimate reason exists to limit the access of the site. So qualification is how the site was qualified. So for closed enrolled sites, under the new integrity rule, it amends the definition of areas in poor economic conditions exist and closed enrolled sites to clarify eligibility requirements and include eligibility determination based on the area data of children eligible for free or reduced price meals, including school or census data. It also amends to require state agencies to establish criteria for approving closed enrolled sites to ensure operation of a site as a closed enrolled does not limit program access in the area of that site is located. So the updates redesignate and to establish the frequency at which the site must reestablish eligibility if based on area data. When school data are used, new documentation is required every 5 years. When census data is used, new documentation is required also for 5 years or earlier if the state agency believes that the area's social economic status has changed significantly since the last census. I always recommend that every year, if you're doing it by area eligibility or census data, that you check it, because this way, if it's still pink, then you can carry it another 5 years. So you're just extending that every time. So the requirements specific to sponsor types, if the sponsor is a camp, it must certify that it will collect information on participants' eligibility to support its claim for reimbursement. If the sponsor administers the program at sites that provide summer school sessions, it must ensure that these sites are open to all children enrolled in summer school and to all children residing in the area served by the site. Sponsors, which are units of local, municipal, county, or state government, and sponsors of which private nonprofit organizations will only be approved to administer the program at sites where they have administrative oversight. Administrative oversight means that the sponsor shall be responsible for maintaining contact with meal service staff, ensuring that there's adequate trained meal service staff on site, monitoring the meal service throughout the period of the program, program participation, and terminating the meal services at a site if staff fail to comply with the program regulations, and exercising management control over program operations at sites throughout the period of the program participation by performing functions specified in 225.15. If the sponsor administers homeless feeding sites, it must document that the site is not a residential child care institute as defined in paragraph C of the definition of schools contained in 210.2 of this chapter. Documents that our primary purpose of homeless feeding sites is to provide shelter and meals to the homeless families. Certify that these sites employ meal counting methods to ensure that reimbursement is claimed only for meals served to homeless and non-homeless children. If the sponsor is a private nonprofit organization, it must certify that it exercises full control and authority over the operation of the program at all sites under the sponsorship of the organization, provides ongoing year-round activities for children or families, and demonstrates that the organization has adequate management and fiscal capacity to operate the program. Is an organization described in section 501C of the Internal Revenue Code of 1986 and exempt from taxation under 501A of that code, and meets applicable state and local health, safety, and sanitation standards. So you can see that there's an enrollment type on the screen, the program types, and the qualifications. Under qualifications, it's area eligible, census data, income applications collected, and there's an other. Please don't use it. And then there's restricted school data and school data. So, and if you're using school data, it will ask you which school you're doing it under. All right, so. All right, so I guess we have a question. Has the BON form changed from last year? I am not sure what you mean by the BON. Can you spell that out for me, please? All right, well, while we're waiting for her, whoever to spell that out, let me just go over the requirements to specific types. So again, if you're a residential camp, you must certify that you will collect information on participants' eligibility to support its claim for reimbursement. And the new forms are online. If the sponsor administers the program at sites that provide summer school sessions, mainly your schools, it must ensure that these sites are open to children enrolled in summer school and to all other children residing in that area served by the site. Sponsors in which units of local, municipal, county, or state government, and sponsors which are private, nonprofit organizations will only be approved to administer the program at sites where they have administration. If the sponsor administers homeless feeding sites, we've gone over that. We need that documentation. And if the sponsor is a private nonprofit organization, it must certify that is exercise full control and authority, provides ongoing year-round activities, demonstrates that the sponsor has adequate management plan and fiscal capabilities, and meets applicable state and local health, safety, and sanitation standards. This management plan, we've never really required it. And right now it's in the integrity rule that we need to make sure that everybody has a management plan. I will be doing a separate training on that in the months to come. And we're gonna work with everybody to get that done. All right, let's see. All right. Is a rec center considered a camp? It depends. I mean, it can be a non-residential camp. So typically rec centers are non-residential camps. If they're, if that camp has enrollment and you can only have a certain amount enrolled, then you could be considered a closed enrolled. So there's a couple different answers there. But typically the rec centers are considered a non-residential camp. Okay. So the Bureau of Nutrition form, which is the household application for free and reduced price meals, that has changed. I've updated the years on it. Only the years have changed. Nothing else has changed. It's still the same form. So just download it and you'll be good to go. All right, I'm gonna move on. So again, it's very, very important that you list the days of the week and make sure that you don't skip a day or, maybe one week you're doing Monday, Wednesday, Fridays, and then the other week you're doing, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesdays. The claims look at these and says, if you have not, it'll base it on 4 days. So the site will not be able to claim more than 16 days for a 4-week month or 20 days for a 5-week month. And so if you forget to put that Friday in, you could possibly lose out on those claims. So you want to make sure that those dates are in. And then claiming for the meal cannot exceed the cap of the month. So if you notice that you have more children coming to the site, you will need to ask for a waiver form from the state agency to increase that cap. This often happens with open sites. You can't, you might have had only 50 last year and now you have 100. So before you can even start a claim, we will need to raise that cap, and it's just a quick waiver that you need to request. So through the integrity rule, the time lapse for the time restricted between meals is a minimum of 1 hour must lapse between the end of one meal at service and the beginning of another meal. But the meal times must be accurate on the application. And I'm sorry that this does not pertain to residential camps. So again, you're going to want to make sure that these times are correct, because if I show up at 8:30 and you've already had breakfast, that's not good. So, and we're going to get into the non-congregate feeding for open sites, and this will be important as we go along. So this is new this year, so we're gonna forget COVID, forget everybody being area eligible. What they've done is that non-congregate feeding can be utilized by open sites only. And it can only be in a site that's rural in the non-congregate feeding. So when you guys are putting in your application, there's a rural under the service site data. There's a rural or a metro drop down. That's going to let me know. And if you're an open rural site, you can do non-congregate. If you are a closed rural site, you cannot do non-congregate. It's only for open sites, because you figure if you're a closed site, then those kids are staying there, so you should be able to feed them breakfast and be able to feed them lunch. You're not allowed, even if you're doing like a 4-hour service, However, if you're doing a summer, a summer program and you have an open site, then those kids that aren't participating in the summer can come and you can give them those meals. So that's this is all new. But it's just remember, you have to be rural and you have to be an open site to do non-congregate feeding. Otherwise, if you're a metro, even if you're a metro or urban site, which unfortunately is mainly like Manchester and Nashua, you cannot do non-congregate. You have to have congregate feeding. So, and then if you, so if you are an open site and you're going to do multiple days of meals, on one day, so like we kind of did in the past, if you want to do bulk meals, you can do it for 5 days. The waiver does say 10, but as a state agency of New Hampshire, you cannot do more than 5 days at a time. And we will have more instructions on this as we go along. And then on another note, if you're taking field trips, please make sure they are listed again. Or if you're shut down for a week, that needs to be listed. So like in between camps, you might have to do multiple sites. Make sure your sites are listed as they come in and come and go out. And then, if something changes, amend your application and let me know. If you have, I'm here to help you guys out. So anytime you have a question. So does all children residing in the area served include non-school age children? Yes, because the summer food program is 0 to 18 or up to 21 if special needs comes into that area. And then, is there a waiver for non-congregate? We wanted to offer meals outside so kids under the age of 18 don't have to come into the building. Is there a waiver for non-congregate? If you're an open site, no, there's not a waiver. You just have to be open and rural. And your times on your application will be the time that you're actually serving. But you have to make sure even if you're doing bulk meals for one day, one day or every other day or whatever you're doing, if you're doing it for 5 days, you have to make sure you put Monday through Friday, otherwise your claim won't work. So I hope that answers that question. All right, so now we're going to get to the site application, service and site data. Again, these sections are very, very important because it affects the claim as well. And it lets us know, again, what type you're doing. So when completing your site application, it is important that the service site data section is completed correctly, as this section directly affects the amount of reimbursement that the site will receive. A designated of Metro and Vended Meal Food Service Management Company, or SFA, will result in a lower reimbursement amount for the administration reimbursement. All other combinations will result in a higher reimbursement. Must be pre-approved by the state agency prior to operation if you're going to be dealing with a Vended Meal and Food Service Management Company. So in short, data listed on the site application directly affects the claims. Again, all those that are in the rural designation and they are open site, they can do non-congregate feeding. As you get to the bottom of the site page, please read the questions and make sure they are updated. One of the questions will ask if the site is affiliated to you or not affiliated. Most of you will have affiliated as you're keeping the money of the operation and the administrative. But say you're doing, you have a site that you're only keeping the administration and they're getting the operation because they're doing the food, but you're the sponsor, then we need to talk and see whether it's going to be a vended meal by, a vendor meals, or whether it's not a vendor meals, that can happen. But most of you, like I said, you're keeping the operating and the administrative, because you're doing both. You're a sponsor and you're doing the food and sending it out. So your service type is cafeteria style, which I don't think anybody's ever chose. Family style, sometimes with the schools, you'll do, I guess take it as cafeteria style is you're giving them the bag, they're sitting and they're eating, or you're giving them the food. Family style is you letting them serve themselves as at a table type thing. So you have bowls of food that they're going to serve themselves. A lot of times this happens in residential camps. It hasn't happened in a while because of COVID. So it's okay, whatever works best for you guys. Or a sack or a cold lunch. So there's some sites that, do paper bag lunches because they're all open sites. The prep type, either self-prep, vended by food service management company. That is a big thing that we need to know. Or it's vended by a school food authority. Again, your rural or your metro. Metro selection receives a lower rate of the administration cost. And the rates, I'll go over the rates when we get to it. And I'll also go over the mapper at a later time. There is a rural or metro mapper that you will need to use to determine what you are. And then vended, if you're vended by food service management company and metro, you'll receive the lower rate. But your food service management company needs to have in their application or in the contract needs to have that you're serving summer food, and their budget needs to reflect that they're open during July and August. So if that's the case, for those who have that, your contact is Tam Feener, which most of you know. So if you don't have an approved vended food service management contract, then we cannot allow you to serve the meals. Attachments. So along with the completion of the sponsor application and all the site applications, sponsoring organizations must upload completed attachments to support the application. Not all attachments will pertain to all SFSP sponsors. So to start it off, I have given you a checklist, and it's right at the top when you go in, that you can print off and make sure that you've uploaded everything that pertains to your sponsorship of the SFSP. These are all pretty much Google Docs now. So when you go to open them, you can download them either into Word or Excel if you need to fill them out, if you don't have, the Google. So they can be downloaded. But then make sure you're attaching them to the application page. I'm not going to go through all of these right now. You guys know most of these. I don't think there's anything really new, but that checklist really will help you on what you need to put in. When you go into your site page, and then you go into the, not the site page, but when you go into attachments, there is a link that links you right to our webpage where all these are at. But if anybody has questions on that, by all means, yeah, so by all means, just send me an email, give me a quick call. Do I need to have this? Don't I need to have this? And hopefully I've kind of said, you need to fill it out. The permanent agreement does need to be filled out again. We've made a few changes. So please make sure that is done. And then the signature page, don't just give me the signature page, give me the whole document, please, so that we know that you've read the document when you've signed it. So that'll be good. So a few more questions. Can we serve outside the building so the kids don't have to come in? Yes, you can serve outside the building. That is fine. Let's see, we had a security safety issue. If we are an open site, can we serve sack cold lunches outside as well as inside? Yes, if you, but as long as, you know, you gotta make sure you have your sheets, you have, you know, maybe you have an inside sheet and an outside sheet. That is fine. Are the 2023 applications up and ready and complete? Yes, I rolled over all the applications. I think I sent an email to everybody, but I might have missed somebody. And then, so yes, I rolled everything over. The application attachment documents are all updated. So by all means, go ahead and get going on it. So, Dahlia, you raised your hand. Let's see. Let's see if I can get participants. All right, Dahlia, did you want to say something? If you unmute, I think you can.
No, I'm good. Thank you so much. You answered my question.
Okay, all
We
right.
just want to make sure we got to feed everybody. That's all.
Yes,
Thank you
yes, we
so
want you to,
much.
you're welcome. All right.
Bye.
Is it okay to supply meals for students on a field trip? Yes, as long as it's the food safety is completed, temperatures are being taken. You know, you have the right, you have all the food components. So yes, it's still okay to supply the meals to the students. And you're gonna make sure that whoever's doing the field trip is checking the meals off, you know, as you go along. Even though you're sending, you know, 30 meals, you still need at the point, it has to be at the point of service within like, you know, 15 minutes that meals need to be checked if they're by name. If you have ones that you're just checking off to say, yes, they're taking a meal, then that needs to be happening as the meal is be giving out, not before the field trip, not as you know, not as you're packing the meals. So because some might not take the meal, even though you have 30 students go, you know, 28 of them only want the meals, you know. So make sure that all that documentation is being done. All right. So this SFSP site determination form. It's somewhat of a new form that we needed you to fill out every year. It's so we can change our system to add, well, it's until we can change our system to the date of eligibility. We need to have this form completed. This was a result of our USDA management evaluation, and it's a great way for you to track your sites every year. So you want to list your site by name on the site page. If the name needs to be changed, please let me know. Let's list the site as open or closed. That's kind of a new column this year. Please list if your site is rural or metro. Please list your site how meals are prepared, such as self-prep, satellite from school, or vended meals. Please list if the site is a food service management company or a school food authority. And if it's neither, it'll be, you know, NA. Please list how the site is eligible, such as school data, list the school name, area eligible mapper, and our census data, etc. And please list what year the site is eligible. You are eligible to qualify for 5 years with this documentation. But when I come out to do an AR, I'm going to have this form with me. Plus, I always look at the documentation for area eligibility. So now if you have the site was determined and running back in 2019 and you have that documentation, then you can continue for the 5 years. If you were determined through COVID, you have to start your determination this year. You cannot go backwards. unless you were running a summer food program in 2019, because 5 years goes to this year, it's 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, we're in 23. That is the only way you can have, as long as you have the documentation showing that either the 50% list, you were on that, or you had a mapper that was, dated and had everything on the information. Otherwise, you have to determine the site brand new this year. Just like if you were bringing on a brand new site, you would have to determine it from this year forward. Hopefully that makes sense. And most of this form is used, helps me to put the information in for USDA. And I know it says 2020 here, but it is 2023. I mean 2019, I apologize. So this is just going over everything I just talked about. So the sponsor application budget, everyone's favorite subject. You need to pay particular attention to the sponsor budget. The state agency will review your budget to see if the information entered will sustain a viable summer food service program operations. Budgets are not needed for schools currently under SFSP agreement with the state agency. So you can just check off NA for non-public. I mean schools. You don't even have to go into it. So this is the first budget page. This is the sponsor application budget. So the data entered here in this section of the sponsor application only reflects what will be utilized for the summer program for all sites under the sponsorship. So if you're, like rent or postage, if that's not putting anything for summer food, if you know that's going to be paid out of a different account, don't put it down here. But I definitely want to see food. I want to see labor, whether for the site or for the kitchen, non-food supplies, such as, your bags or your napkins, your utensils, anything on that line, your cleaning supplies, to wipe tables down, any of that stuff. Utilities, if your program's charging the summer food program, if not, you don't need to. If you have a truck rental, equipment rental. And then, so that's the operating of the, for the food service. That's pretty much the first column. And then the second column is estimated administrative cost. So administrative salaries, is that coming out of the summer food budget? Rent, utilities, office supplies, audit fees, transportation, telephone, postage, legal fees. That's all under this side. Again, if it's not coming out of the summer food budget, it's coming out of a different budget. I don't list it here. Your sponsor application income. Many of you that fill this out, but let me explain why we need this. As a sponsor, you need to be viable, capable, and accountable, which is also known as VCA. This is one part where you should show us that you are VCA. Meaning you're capable of paying for the funds and accountable. You have systems in place. So state agency may only approve the application of those sponsors that meet the 3 performance standards outlined in this section: financially viable, administratively capable, and program accountable. What happened if you order all the food, hire the staff, buy necessary equipment, and then you don't have anyone show up at your site? We need to see that you can cover those costs with another income source, and not an income source that you're going to use up on another program. It needs to be an income source that's available. So the integrity final rule does not introduce new program requirements, but instead further aligns SFSP requirements with integrity measures used in the child and adult care food program. The new regulation 7 CFR 2256 clarifies existing SFSP requirements and provides supporting and guidance to state agencies when evaluating sponsor applications. As part of the application, sponsors must demonstrate compliance in which the performance standards in their management plan. The new regulations outline the requirements for the submission and state agency evaluation of the management plans in the SFSP. In addition, sponsors must demonstrate compliance with the performance standards as part of their administrative budgets. The state agency has requested to extend this management plan and VCA requirement at a later date. We have not been approved for this waiver yet, but fingers crossed it'll go through. And I will be doing a separate training for this probably in September, so you can work on it during the winter months to have it completed for next year's budget. So please make sure this is filled out. Please make sure, do not put that, you're using SFSP income. We know that you're doing that. We need to see other income sources. So staying on budget, you calculate your food cost for each menu by following these steps. Select a recipe, you determine the serving sizes, you determine how many meals to prepare, adjust the recipe for numbers of servings, calculate the amount of food needed for the total numbers of meals, and then you estimate the food cost. Now, if you're getting commodities, you're paying $3.75 for a case of food. So, that determination may bring your cost down. But we understand, again, some of you guys do not have the capability of taking all that frozen food. And please be aware that it's on a smaller ratio than you typically get when you're doing it for schools. So you're not getting, 50 cases, you may only be getting 3. And that's something, again, you can work out with Katie and Val. So compare the estimate cost of the menu with the amount you're allocating to your food budget. If the cost is higher than your food budget, try replacing some of the foods in the menu with less costly foods. Whoa. Sorry, that was my phone. Some of the foods in the menu with less costly foods. For some ideas of low-cost healthy meals, see the affordable healthy meals section. So what is a complete SFSP application? You have your sponsor application, all sections are completed. You have your site application or applications, all sections completed. Attachment documents, upload all pertinent documents. Your budget is completed, unless you're a public school. Unless you're a new public school to SFSP, then we'll talk about it. Estimated operational cost under that budget, the estimated administrative cost, the projected income to support your program, and again, application deadlines, May 15, 2023. I do not know why I missed all these dates, but so it's May 15th. So food inventory records. Keep accurate and up-to-date food inventory records, which includes the date the food was ordered, the name of the supplier or vendor, the date the food was received, condition on arrival, the price paid, and the amount of food. These records are helpful for planning future food purchases and menus. Record food cost is an important step for documenting the nonprofit food service and demonstrating that all costs are allowable. Tracking costs and inventory will help you stay on budget and reduce food waste. And it's in the guide. So I want to see, even if you had to go to Walmart or, Market Basket, I want to see that receipt. and say you bought soda along with other foods, I want to make sure that that soda is either crossed off or you're highlighting, just the summer food. If you're buying art supplies and you're buying other stuff on that same thing, just make sure that the summer food is clearly marked and what account it is going to. That is stuff that we need to look at. So, another polling question. What year did USDA SFSP start? Let me get that one up. Oops. Launch. Was it 1958, 1960, 1968, 1965, or 1962? Ah, we have, interesting. You can tell the people that have been on the program for a while because they know this question. All right, I think we're pretty good there, so I'm going to end. So, look at 1968 was the highest. What was the year? Whoops. How come it didn't come on? Ah, sorry. Okay. Well, the answer is 1968. I don't know why I didn't put it on the slide, but that is when the summer food program started. So it's been around for a long time. And it's had many, many changes. So yeah, we'll go back and we'll stop that. So I don't see any questions at this time. Why don't we take, before we get on to management responsibilities, why don't we take a 10-minute break? It's now 10:18. How about we come back at 10:30? That way you can get some water, bathroom break. And then we'll all be back here at 10:30 and we'll start right back up and get this finished.